Howdy folks, this is the cut video from the Building the Ultimate 1978 Michael Myers life-size display video, which if you haven't seen and you're a Halloween fan, you can check out by clicking the link on your screen or head to the description here of the video. So yeah, you see the writing here, and it pretty well speaks for itself. But I figured there'd be questions about what happened and what exactly this means, and I'm usually not one for ambiguity. So what you're about to see was shot just moments before I opened this mask on screen on that life-size video. This is 100% raw, unscripted, and unrehearsed. Here's me telling the story about how USPS nearly robbed me of over $850 and, at the time, about 8 months of project prep. Roll tape. The crown jewel of this entire project is in this box. And if I have a moment to tell the story about how it finally got here and how it went from being lost in limbo, and about me, like, I'm not even going to say the next part because, that would be bad, but how I went from extreme emotions to being extremely elated, I'll just put it that way. I'll go ahead and tell the story real quick. I don't know if I'll leave it in the video or not, so I asked James Carter to overnight this, because in my mind, the less human hands touch it between here and there, the better, because of all kinds of intangibles. Just use your imagination in today's, I was getting ready to say world, but could I say country? Use your imagination. I wanted this thing to pass through as few people as possible on the way here, and not to mention that it's in the dead of summer right now when we're filming this, so there's an extreme heat wave between here and the far south where Mr. Carter is. I'm in the kind of mid-south or whatever. And, in my mind, I'm like, I don't want this to go ground. I don't want this to be in the back of a hot feeder truck or whatever, during this 100-degree plus heat wave, because extreme heat and latex don't really mix. And maybe it's just me being a Virgo. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but this was an $858 investment. So in my mind, it's like, yeah, I probably am, being a little too careful and micromanaging the situation, but I don't want anything to compromise like 1 ounce of quality on this mask. So I had him overnight it. I'm like, get this sumbitch on a plane. Next day, boom, it's out for delivery. Here we are. That was the plan. As the old cliche goes, what really happened is the night that James turned this into the post office, he turned it in early morning. That night, he lives in, we'll just say Georgia. That night, it made its way to Jacksonville, Florida, around 8:47 p.m. And I saw that, and I'm like, oh, cool. I wasn't checking the tracking every hour. I don't do that anymore. But I was checking it periodically, just making sure, like, okay, boom, 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 no reason to worry. Surely it's about to get put on a plane, and the next update I'm going to see is when it arrives where I am. I hit update on that tracking for the next 5 days, and there was nothing. Nothing. As far as I knew, when it hit Jacksonville, Florida at 8:47 p.m. on that Friday night, it disappeared. So I put out a missing mail request. I filed, the regular claim, whatever. And I get the automated bullshit. Oh, it looks like your package is still in transit. It was supposed to be delivered the following day. That day came and went days prior. We're like at Monday at this point. And I get an email from the post office, that lazy bullshit apology email where they claim we've exhausted all possible measures to locate your package and we just can't do that. While all this is going on, I'm in contact with James. And I'm trying not to message him because he and his family are on vacation at this point. Being the good-hearted man that he is, he made sure he got this thing done and on its way literally right before his family went on vacation. And I really appreciated that. So I wasn't going out of my way to text him. I was just like, just planning my next move. It's like, I guess I'm going to have to do this whole process over again. And any of you who's ever done this process before knows you have to get the blank from whoever you get it from. In my case, it's always Nikos Drezios from Nag Masks, because in my personal opinion, he's the best and no one else comes close. That's my personal opinion. And, you know, I'm going to have to go through this whole process again. And this project's probably going to get pushed back to next year. I mean, that was just what was going through my head, let alone the investment that I was about to lose. So I'm dealing with all this stuff, trying to be cool, because a part of me, and James had told me, you know, he has seen this happen before, you know, be patient. Somehow they screwed up. I don't know how they screwed up, because as you can see, express priority tape is all over this box. And there were huge labels all over it, also confirming such before I ripped them off before the video. How this thing didn't wind up on a plane that night, being in the box that it's in, with all of this stuff on it, is something I'll never understand. However, skipping a lot of needless details, a lot of bitching and moaning, we get to Tuesday, 5 days later. Suddenly there's an update. The package has finally hit my city, which is Louisville, Kentucky. And I mean, at first I feel so elated, but then again, I'm like, well, where's it been? I mean, you know, how's the transit process? What kind of condition is it in? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm a Virgo. I do these things. Overanalyze. I can't keep from it. So I let James know right away, hey, we have an update on the tracking. Like, I think this was the only time that I messaged him first because, again, his family's on vacation. I just didn't want to bother him with this stuff. Wasn't his fault. I was just leaning back and just biding my time, hoping for the best. So, long story short, again, that's kind of a oxymoron at this point because I've already given you the long story. It finally showed up 5 days later, and I don't know what kind of condition it's in. Just looking at the box, I mean, it doesn't appear to have been too molested on its way here, but a part of me is just a little bit concerned because we do have a 100+ degree heat wave between here and Jacksonville and everywhere else in this entire region and most of the country right now, probably. I really doubt that there's been any damage done to the mask, but I'm just giving you a little insight of what's going on in here as I ponder the journey. So, let's go ahead and open the box. If you noticed the jump cut just now, I skipped the entire story of this thing because probably by then I got it in post and realized I rambled on for a little too long, and it's just shit that who cares, right? But fuck USPS on one hand, and on the other, they did finally get it here. And by the way, my refund's been approved for that express overnight shipping, which they dropped the ball on. I recommend if you need to ship something, choose FedEx or UPS or DHL, anyone but UPS or USPS, because I think, I told this to a friend of mine recently, the level of anxiety I feel when I see that I have a package out for delivery says it all. It's like you worry about what's going to happen to it, especially in this city. If you live in a big city where crime is rampant pretty much every fucking where you go, these are legit concerns, right? So anyway, it did finally get here. Whoever at my local office, when they processed this thing, somebody, I guess, realized it was like 4 days late, and somebody personally ran it down here themselves. So whoever that person is, thank you. When I say fuck USPS, I really mean Jacksonville, because they're the ones who dropped the ball and didn't put this thing on a plane for whatever reason. It's like they stuck it on the back of a milk truck or a horse and carriage. And that's the journey it's had this entire time. Okay. Probably after another jump cut, here we are. Let's open it, because I can't wait to see this. I've seen pictures of it from James. James has said that this is the best H1 he has ever done.